Welcome to the discussion of the epilogue of Crime and Punishment. In the epilogue, we follow Razumihin a little bit through his trial. We find out that due to the extenuating circumstances of his sickness, which was attested to by Zosimov and other people who knew him at the time, and also to his odd behavior of never really even touching the money, not taking any of the money, not using it, not selling it, but hiding it under a stone, which they concurred that no one in their right mind, if they had perpetrated a murder to rob someone, would have done. So it all kind of led them to bolster this theory that they had used as a defense of temporary insanity or, a manic episode where he had done this not in his right mind. And that coupled with the fact that he was very forthright in explaining everything, all the details about the murder, and that also that he had done it at a time where Nikolay could totally avoid being prosecuted, that all combined to get him a mitigated sentence, as Porfiry told him that it would. And instead of the 15 to 20 years that he had expected to serve, he only ended up getting a sentence of 8 years. And so we find him in Siberia. He's in a penal colony where he is on a work gang, and he's not having a good time of it because he's not repentant. He's angry with himself. He is suffering the humiliations of not rising to the heroic journey, the heroic end that he had put forth in his article and his theory. He still clings to the theory. He still believes that it's possible and that it would have worked had he not blundered so badly and behaved so stupidly in the aftermath of the murder. And so he is frustrated with himself. He has a hatred towards himself. And because of that, he hates everybody. He hates his fellow prisoners who don't like him much either because he's so sullen and arrogant and ignores them and looks down on them. And so they don't like him. But they do all love Sonia. Sonia has become this figure in the community where she is almost revered. She's seen as like an angelic person because she has become a conduit for all these prisoners to help them continue relationships and correspondence with their loved ones at home, because not everybody's girlfriend or wife is going to be able to move to Siberia. And so she visits them at the prison. She takes their letters and posts them, and she brings the post to them so that they can stay in communication. And if their loved ones do come to Siberia, to town, she shows them the way. She welcomes them and she becomes almost like a tour guide, like, let me take you there. And sometimes she makes treats for the prisoners during holidays, and they just love her. And Raskolnikov still has an attitude toward her of indifference. He doesn't feel anything. He takes her so for granted, and he's confused, quite frankly, as to why everybody seems to love her. Why is everyone so excited when she comes? She's his friend. So why are they all more excited about her being there than he is? He just has no love in his heart whatsoever because he hates himself and he's just full of hate and loathing. And so he can't love himself. So he can't understand or feel her love for him. He's totally black inside. And then he goes into the hospital wing come Lent, which is very symbolic. So Lent is a time when you basically confess your sin. You go to God with your sin and you say, I'm repenting about this thing. I want you to help me. I want to be a better person. I want to come out of this period between Lent and Easter renewed. And it's a time where you give up something that you love, something that is part of your daily life. You do without, so that when every time you think about it, you remember, oh yes, I'm repenting. I'm trying to make a sacrifice of the thing that I love the most so that I can become spiritually closer to God. That's what the season is. Of course, he's not celebrating Lent. but he is going into the hospital wing. And because of that, he is being separated from the only good thing in his life, which is Sonya. He's not able to see her like he was before. But yet she still comes every day. Imagine freezing outside at Siberia. Every day she makes her way, trudges her way to the prison. And now she can't even really go in the prison and see him. So she's standing at the gate, staring at the hospital window in just hopes that he will be looking out the window. I mean, she just clings to any little moment that she can get even sight of him. Of course, he doesn't care. But he, happen chance, right before he is about to be discharged, after he's been there for about 2 weeks, well, actually, it would be about 6 weeks because Lent is 6 weeks long. So he's been there for a while. He looks out the window and he sees her at the gate, just at the time when she's at the gate, but she's not looking at the window, which is interesting because I think normally the way that it depicts her is that she's just, staring for any view of him, but she's actually looking around as if she's looking for somebody else. And then she walks off and he's like a little shook by this, a little like, wow, she wasn't really 100% focused on him. She didn't see him. She walks away and there's just something in him that kind of like, And so he's looking forward to seeing her when he gets back into the prison, but she doesn't come. And he gets a little worried and he finds out from the fellow prisoners that she is sick. And now he's really kind of shook. I think this is the first time that it even dawns on him, what would life be like if she weren't there? She's always there. She's always, worried about him and taking care of him and focused solely on him. And it's like, what if that were gone? And he'd never contemplated that because he takes her for granted. And then she writes to him and she tells him that she's actually not that sick, that she's okay, she has a cold, and that she will come and see him soon when she's better. And he has he's back on the work gang. He goes out to the alabaster mines, and there's not that many prisoners with him. There's just 2 prisoners and a guard, and it's very open, and there's nowhere for him to run. So these prisoners have a little bit more freedom than what we would think of. And so the 2 other prisoners are doing something else. The guard is turned and Raskolnikov goes and takes a break by the river, and he's just sitting there by the river. And all of a sudden he realizes that she has quietly walked up and is standing next to him. And love and relief and so much emotion just floods his heart, and he gets tears in his eyes, and he wraps his arms around her legs and is just looking up at her with tears in her eyes. And she is taken aback, but gloriously relieved herself, because I'm sure that this is what she has hoped and dreamed and prayed for, that he would have some sort of movement or change in his heart where he would feel love for her like what she feels for him. And she can tell suddenly by the look in his face, like something has dramatically changed. And it's in that moment that he feels like Lazarus, like something has brought him back from the dead, where he didn't feel before, but now he feels alive. Like he felt dead inside. He felt like he had nothing to live for. He didn't understand when the peasants that were also serving time would find so much joy in just being in the sunshine and planning for the future. He saw no future and hope. He had no hope. Even though Sonya was like, I'll be waiting for you, it didn't mean anything to him because he was just dead inside. But God has done something where he has touched his heart and flooded him with love and this realization that there can be some happiness at the end of it, that she's there for him and that they can have a life together. And it says that even though he has 7 more years on his sentence, it feels in his heart like it's only 7 days, like it's nothing compared to what it will be like when they can be together and start a life, and that everything is renewed in him. And so it's this miraculous moment, this very tender moment. And then it talks about him back in his cell. And he reaches under his pillow and he pulls out the New Testament. And this is the New Testament that Sonia had read him, the story of Lazarus, when he had said, "Read me the story of Lazarus," and she had read it. And he contemplates how he's very surprised that all this time she's not been browbeating him about the Bible or about God or forgiveness or anything like that. She hasn't said a word. And that has shocked him. And the reality is that you really can't talk somebody into having a spiritual life or to feeling something spiritual, that you have to be touched by God yourself. The Holy Spirit has to come into your heart and give you faith and give you love. And that nobody can talk you into that, but that you can see it. And what she was a witness to her spiritual life. She lived her spiritual life. And that's why all the other prisoners just loved her, because she was Christ-like. She was bringing the light of Christ to the prisoners, which is exactly what the Bible tells you to do. She was living it in real time. And that was more of a witness to him than anything she could have told him from the Bible. He would have never received it any other way. And so as he contemplates this and he thinks about, he has this Bible, he has this witness in his life, he has been touched now where he feels love and spiritual awakening and life beginning in him again. He thinks, like, maybe I can read this and get to the point where she was at. And he was always shocked. Remember when she was in the depths of her lifestyle that she hated, and he was like, how can you even go on? Like, what is keeping you from throwing yourself into the river? This is like, anyone else would not be able to handle this, because he could see that she was such a good girl and that this wasn't what she wanted to do. But he realized, oh, it's this belief and this hope that she has in Christ and in resurrection and in, the love of God, and that he will protect her and save her. And he thought it's like he understood that it had value, but he didn't understand it. He couldn't feel it. He didn't feel it like she did. And so now he's thinking, now that he feels this spark of love and this renewal in his heart and his soul, he's thinking, maybe now I can get on the same page with her and understand what she seems to understand. And it gives him even more hope for the future. And he understands that, of course, there's going to be struggles. Of course, there's going to be hardships, but that it doesn't matter, because he's just so looking forward to them doing it together and being together. And he knows that his life is going to be good now. He knows that there's happiness on the other side of this. And so it's just a beautiful story of redemption, in rising from the ashes, in finding purpose in life and embracing life and hope for the future. And so I've so appreciated having you here with me for this whole journey. So thank you for staying with me all the way to the end of Crime and Punishment. And I hope that you stay with me for many more books to come.